The victory of Karen Handel over Jon Ossoff in Georgia is very telling with regard to the future of this country. President Trump and his revolution continue to move forward. This is, I think, and hopefully, and God willing, just the beginning of what will be a setting back of the left for another generation, if not for the next several decades. They're using the same old playbook that is not working for them. Example, Ossoff first ran for office in the primary saying, let's infuriate Trump. And he won his primary among very liberal Democrats. But then in the general election, he did what Democrats often do. He changed his spots. He switched his stripes. He suddenly became conservative. He suddenly moved to the right. All of a sudden, he's concerned about economy. He's concerned about local regulations. He says nothing about Trump. Classic Democrats, classic leftist approach, which is to lie when it's appropriate to win. No one bought it this time. In the past, they've gotten away with that. This time, he lost, and he lost big. And this was in one of the most expensive races as the rich, fat cat, top 1% left-wingers poured $25 million into his race to defeat the candidate that they felt represented and did represent President Trump's revolution, that being Karen Handel. His concession speech, that being Jon Ossoff, was the same speech he would have delivered had he won, filled with hatred and spite. He says that he's fighting against the forces of hate in a classic Freudian case of projection, when the only hatred is coming out of them. And that hatred is now expressing itself in the form of people showing up at a baseball game and shooting people. That's the only hate that I've seen. And then he furthers the hatred message, somehow assuming that, President Trump and that the rest of us, we've got something against black men and women. We've all the usual cliches, which are a lot of lies. He furthers it by then throwing his whole state under the bus by saying that he's fighting especially where he's fighting in Georgia, with the implication, of course, being that not only are Karen Handel's supporters, but his entire state and indeed the entire South is made up of people whom he described as filled with hate. This kind of politics, God willing, is over. This smear against those who they dislike by calling them names, by acting like schoolyard bullies, is over. And in fact, we're now realizing more and more that the exact opposite is true, because whatever they stand for, which who knows what they've stood for, what they've done over the past half century is destroy minority communities, particularly the African American community, with their left-wing programs and their left-wing philosophy. So let's take a look at who the real haters are moving forward. Let's unite in this revolution and understand that President Trump is returning governing powers and rights to the people, the sovereign citizen, and taking it away from these leftist fat cats, well-funded, who think that they can basically rule over the rest of us because they actually believe they're smarter than us. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.